on my non-legal spiel, not affiliated with CLASP, their representatives. I mean, the OIPRD system is new. And as was stated, it can be sent to the police division to be investigated. It's your choice how you feel about that and whether you think that makes it a useful project or process or not. There are some considerations about, the symbolism involved, and a lot of people who have gone through similar things, writing similar stories and making similar complaints. But again, that's going to be a personal choice on your part as to whether this is a process that you feel is for you and whether you feel like it's going to give you the kind of results that you're interested in. So I understand your point, sir, and that's sort of up to individual choice. The question, I guess, the first question is, or the first statement was about whether the OIPRD jurisdictionally can deal with out-of-province police because they may or may not have been deputized to work in Ontario for the duration. I suspect the answer to that is going to be, we're going to have to see. And there's a lot of confusion about the structure of policing over the G20 weekend, if I just answered that. Anyways, and the second question is whether or not an appeal from the OIPRD would be a judicial review or some other form of appeal, which is kind of a technical question, but.
It's our understanding that any administrative or tribunal board, you have the right to go for a judicial review, and that is the process.
So the question is whether or not people designated as court officers, which I gather was some of the guards at the Prisoner Processing Center, would fall under this process. Irina has pointed out that likely those people are peace constables and so would fall under the jurisdiction of the OIPRD. That your comment is basically on some of the political considerations that we were talking about before that are less legal, but more about the symbolic power of a number of people putting forward similar claims. Specifically, you mentioned you had put in 2 yourself, and one of them was sent to the Division for Investigation, and the other one was dismissed as frivolous. And again, so I think your point was essentially that there is power in multiple people bringing similar claims, that this is more than one person's experience. The question is why are anonymous complaints not permitted and why is the timeline so short? I can't answer either of those questions because that's something for the legislators who are not me to answer. You can draw your own conclusions on those things.
Sorry, I don't know the answers to those either, but we just also want to clarify that even though there is a 6-month limitation period and that certainly starting the process earlier rather than later is always better, there are certain exceptions that the OIPRD will consider extending that 6-month limitation. And one of them is if you have pending criminal charges, that they will consider extending that, they have to consider extending that 6-month limitation period in that. Another is if if the complainant is a minor or has a disability. And yes, sorry. And the third one is kind of a catch-all, and if it's in the public interest. I wouldn't rely on the public interest one to save you, but the other two, if you feel that you need a longer period of time than the 6 months, they do consider those exceptions.
The question is, if you file a complaint to the OIPRD, will you be able to kind of get hold of your arrest documentation or find out who arrested you?
Or if you were arrested legally.
I think it's important when you're initially filing the complaint just to try and think back to all the information that you do have. You can file a complaint without knowing the officer's name, rank, or badge number. Any descriptive information that you do have about the officer is enough to file a complaint, and you should proceed and file your complaint if you want to. as far as we understand, there's nothing in the specific process when you go to initially file your police complaint that you'll give a description and they'll shoot back a name at you. But I think it's important that you do take all the information that you do have, and then you can move forward on the process. And if you have further questions considering a specific situation, you can always seek further legal advice on it also.
Question was twofold. One, are the riot police considered part of this or covered by the OIPRD? And the second was, I gather the gist of it is, can they use the information in some way that will be detrimental to you in the future?
Our understanding is that the riot police are generally just going to be peace officers in greater police gear, more intense police gear, but at the end of the day, they're still a police officer. Going to the second part of your question, and it is important to identify that when you do file a complaint, the officer that the complaint is filed against is provided a notice of the complaint and the name of the complainant. But beyond that, that is their main involvement in the process, of the complaint process.
Just on that final note, it's worth keeping in mind in general, whenever you make a public statement, and that can be in court documents and claims that you file, that statement and that information can be used against you in any other legal proceeding. So you really do want to think about that and the way that your different claims may or may not relate to each other. And that's sort of, I think, part of what you're speaking about there. In terms of police practice, I have no idea. But, you know, you make your own kind of political judgment as to whether that seems worthwhile.
Hi, my name is Cornelia. I'm from CLASP as well. So you could actually get information through the Freedom of Information request.